All right, Metal Maniacs, it's the Meista from Brews and Tunes. Cheers. I am so excited. I'm like a giddy little schoolgirl today. I am chatting with the one and the only, the legend, the tyrant, Mr. Harry Conklin. I of course of Jag Panzer and now I'm Satan's Host and the Three Tremors and Titan's Force, and the list goes on. Harry, how are you doing?
Doing really well. Thanks a lot. It's finally starting to cool down a little bit here in Greece. It was 100 and over 100 degrees Fahrenheit
Oh,
for 2.5 weeks with 80 and 85% humidity. So it was almost unbearable to go outside. It was hard to breathe. But now it's cooled down into like the 85s and the nights are in the 65, 70s. So fall is coming, but still it's about 60 or 70 percent humidity in the air. And it looks like we're going to be hitting rains next week.
oh,
So it's going to be in the 70s and maybe early 80s with back to that 100% humidity again.
oh no.
But as you can see, I'm in a tank top, so I'm just
Yeah.
enjoying the end of the summer. Yeah.
Yeah, nice, nice. Yeah, you moved to Greece, what about like 5 or 6 years ago, I think it was, right?
5 years ago, yeah. I just had enough of those Colorado winters.
Yeah.
It was just so bad that there would be almost any given year for about 10 years, last 10 years in a row, there would be a full week that you just couldn't move
Yeah.
because of the snow drifts and the ice on the road. And there's a couple of nights I went into work and saw 40 cars in a ditch on the way to work. And then I get to work and no one's there at the shop. So I just had enough of being cold all my life. I lived there. I was born. I was born in Massachusetts, but ever since I was 2 years old, I've been in Colorado. So I was just like, you know what? I have a choice to go to Greece. I'm going to do that in my
Yeah.
twilight years. I'm going to spend them in a nice warm climate. Now, it's a little bit more than what I asked for sometimes, but it's only like not even a full month out of the year that it gets super hot like that. The winters are in the 50s. I think it gets down in the 40s sometimes. So I'm still wearing shorts and t-shirt, in the wintertime here sometimes. It does get down like maybe the high 30s for about 3 or 4 weeks right before it transitions back into spring. So, it's not near as harsh.
Yeah.
Barely get any snow, just a little drifting. And then people are frightened here, when it rains, it's like, oh, I don't want to drive, but at least I got away from the super 15 degrees below zero and 20, with a wind chill factor of negative 15 and stuff from Colorado. So,
Yeah, yeah. And yeah, I'm sure you can just walk down the street to the cafe, get a nice, in your shorts, get a nice cup of coffee, get a gala de Budico or or a domade or something. And yeah, that's got to be great. Especially
it's really nice because where I lived in Colorado, I lived out on the prairie and I
oh,
had 40 acres of land around my place, but it was 15-minute drive into town.
mm,
So if you wanted to get a jug of milk or, a case of beer or anything, you had to drive a minimum of 15 minutes. Now, if you wanted to do anything else like fine restaurants or, car repair or movies, that was another 20 minutes down the road. So it was almost like an hour's drive one way just to get to what you want. Now here in Greece, since we all live in flats, everything's within walking distance. So I got a grocery store at the end of the street. I got 7 coffee shops within walking distance. I got a mechanic at the other end of the street. I've got a dentist about maybe a kilometer away. So everything, it's like living the big city life again
yeah, nice.
within walking distance.
Yeah, that's great. Well, let's talk about this amazing album that was
Hello.
released this
Yeah.
summer, the Hallowed Jag Panzer. I think it's what, the 10th studio album by Jag Panzer, if I did my math correct.
It's like the 11th or 12th,
Oh,
actually.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because we had Deviant Chord was the third one. Chain of Command never got released till later on.
Oh, right.
Uh,
Yeah.
he was supposed to be out private in between Ample and D and no, not Deviant Chord. Uh, uh,
Oh,
no, Ballistic. No, I'm trying to think. Not Ballistic. Oh man, it was the one with the mines on it. I
yeah,
wasn't
yeah.
singing that album. That's why. That's why.
I'm blanking
That's
on that
why I
too.
can't call it. But anyway, there was those 3 albums, and then we did Fourth Judgment. Then we did Age of Mastery. Then we did Scourge of the Light. We did Thane to the Throne prior to that, after Age of Mastery, which was our first concept album around the Macbeth. And then there was Scourge of Light, then Deviant Chords. So yeah, it'd be like 11th or 12th, I think.
Okay. Yeah. Totally did my math wrong there. But what an amazing album. You and I, of course, were chatting about this earlier, and just I mean, I was just floored when I dropped the needle. I'd heard the you guys had released a couple songs prior to the album coming out, so I had heard those. But yeah, when I dropped the needle, and yeah, it's one of those albums that you have to stop what you're doing. You need to sit down and you need to listen to it. You need to shut up and listen. Which I love. I love that kind of an album that just grabs you like that, where it's like, okay, stop whatever you're doing and sit down and actually listen to this album. And as you said, it goes by fast because it's just such a great album. I mean, it's like all of a sudden you're at the end of you're at the end, at the last rites, and it's like, how did that happen? And I usually flip it right back over and start over again. But it's such a
joy to listen. Was for us like a good movie. You go in and you see this 3-hour movie like The Godfather or something, and you're thinking, shit, 3 hours, how am I going to make it? And then you get near the end and you're like, oh my God, this was so good. Time just flew right by. So we're glad that everybody sees it the same way that we saw it. When we were making it, every song was just our favorite song. Yeah. As soon as we were done with another song, it was like, oh my God, this is our favorite song again. How does that happen? It just trumped the song before it in different ways, And then when we decided, as we made it, what was cool about it was, since it was based on a story, and we had, songs created, sometimes the song that was created wouldn't come up in the story until later on. So that song would be saved to be written later on, Interesting. And so what happened was I wrote the first 3 songs, and they weren't in order. And so I said, well, hold on, once I get all these songs, then we can, figure out an order. So then Mark, what he's always liked to do is he will name this song. He'll just give it like a goofy name, like a trout sucking water, or Cubby Beara or something like that, because he wants, instead of song 1, song 2, song 3, he wants to give it a little bit of a personality, but not such a personality that it might actually be a working title. You know what I'm saying?
Gotcha.
So we had those all flushed out, but to finally have all the songs together and in the order of the emotional content of the play that we're trying to convey was just, I mean, when we heard it for the first time, I was crying. I was just like, dudes, this is going to be amazing. I said, put your order in for your Ferraris and Lamborghinis now, because this is going to be a huge album. And I don't know if it's going to get it to that point. I was just kind of kidding with that, but we knew right then that this was going to have a huge impact on people, because it had a huge impact on us. And we're the first ones to be fans of our stuff. If we can't be a fanboy of our own stuff, that means we need to keep working on it until it gets to that stage of where we can be a fan of our own material.
Oh, I like that. That's interesting. That's cool. Yeah, I think it's fantastic. I mean, just from the opening note to the fade out, I mean, it's just a perfect album. I don't say that lightly. I think it's definitely, if not my favorite album of 2023, it's definitely right up there. So I mean, it is incredible. And I thought, I think I told you this, when I talked to Mark, of course, Mark Briody, rhythm guitar player of the band and keyboardist of the band. I talked to him, last year, and he told me that you guys were working on a new album. And he said, at the time, yeah, I think he's like, this is better than the Deviant Chord material. I'm like, no way. There's no way, because that album's just fantastic. And then when I heard this, I'm like, yep, it's better. For me, that's incredible. It really, for me, it's like, it's got this, and all of your albums, all the Jag Panzer albums I love. I mean, great albums, but it's got that same kind of energy I felt the first time I heard Ample Destruction. It just like I'm like a kid again. It's like, wow, like this is just high energy, sonic attack. I mean, your vocals are, I mean, your vocals are always incredible, but it's like, I don't know what you found, but it seems like you're even bigger and more inspired than ever. It's like, I don't know what changed, but it's, I mean, because you're vocally you're always incredible, but this is like next level, I think, for the entire band. For me personally, I think it's just next level.
Well, thanks. We took a different approach on this album. We wanted to go back to the old school and just keep everything as bare bones and open as possible. We didn't want to be too busy with each song. We wanted nice open spaces so the song could give time to breathe. And then that way, like in the early Sabbath and even the Yes albums, when they're complicated rhythms and some early like 2112, there was space in the songs to let the musicianship shine through. And that's what we did. We gave a lot of space in these songs and didn't try to fill all the empty spaces with extra stuff. We wanted to keep these songs nice and basic and give them the live feel, not layer guitars 40 or 50 times, just get a good 5 or 6 good guitar sound layer on it. Not layer a lot of vocals, not go heavy on the backgrounds, just give it a nice double tracked lead vocal like early Black Sabbath, when Dio would come in and it'd just be nothing but his raw voice all the way through. Not even on the choruses, he wouldn't even harmonize on the choruses. It'd just be one straight voice, or Ian Gillan on Smoke on the Water or Highway Star, he's just got a little third harmony. I'm a highway star. Other than that, he's just singing straight through, not harmonizing one time, and that's cool. That to us, we grew up with those bands. We grew up with the early Rush and the Uriah Heep and the Boston, and so we wanted to take that approach, the nice big open approach, and it really worked out. It made the songs just crushing. And, I kept my voice down to the baritone range. And so then when I do go high, it's noticeable, Sometimes we pick up in that high range a lot, and then you shoot up just a little higher, you don't notice it too much because you're already there. So, and plus I've got that big husky baritone voice anyway. And so we needed that to give these songs a nice brutal edge to it. But not too brutal, because these are animals we're talking about.
Yeah.
And that's another cool thing that Rickard came up with was, I don't know if that's another question you're going to ask, but this whole thing being, from a different perspective, instead of a perspective of a human looking in, it's a perspective of an animal on a leash or an animal on a chain or an animal just being led by a human. And what they see and how they act and how they feel on this journey from a cold wasteland to finding a new place of hope.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that. Yeah, that was definitely something I wanted to ask you about. I thought, yeah, just a cool concept. I mean, when it is a concept album, this kind of, not kind of a post-apocalyptic, kind of, this dystopian, but yeah, from the viewpoint of these animals that have been, they're captives of humans. And I thought that was just a brilliant way. And I thought it was really brilliant that, the album is from the animals' viewpoint, and then the comic book is from the humans' viewpoint from the story. I thought that was really cool. And, kind of harkens back to the, those early days of, being a kid and listening to metal and listening to and reading comic books and, kind of bringing it all full circle. I thought that was genius. And
it was also a chance for us to bring characters into it and make it seem more like a deeper story, because when you listen to the songs, there's no names, there's no characters. It's just an emotional content, basically. Yeah. You're like reading a book that there's no names in. That there's a person there, that there's a thing there, and you can experience what they're going through. But actually giving a name to this person and having these titles and these people, now we can actually open up new doors and maybe, further do a screenplay or write a book. Wow. Or, do a television series, based on these new actors that we derived out of the comic book. We have this new creature called the Jaw. We have these new bats called the Swarm. With the Panther and everything that's in there. So all these people that are involved in the story now flesh out the story and make it more real and make it more believable that this could actually be something that could come out into a real movie or play or a screen or something like that.
Yeah, definitely. And I thought the marketing, the pre-release marketing was a thing of beauty as well. It was genius. I mean, with the postcards, and I don't know if you can see them. I've got them all up here above me. I thought that was amazing, just because it really got you excited about, like, oh, what is this? Like, with one title, and then like the bats, picture of the bats. I think, is that the one that glows in the dark?
The glow in the dark one, yeah.
And I was like, this is genius. Like, and it was, it was so exciting, because I wouldn't know, just all of a sudden there'd be a postcard in my mailbox, and it was like, oh my God, what is this? This is great. Like Jag Panzer, like, oh, this is so exciting. I thought that was,
and it's a reminder of the song that's coming out that's soon to be released too.
Yeah.
So every postcard is not just a postcard like an ad. It coincides with every one of our releases as a single too. So except for one, which was the hotline.
Yeah. That was cool.
And that was kind of a cool idea of both Mark and Rickard as well, to come up with that hotline. And we used to do that in the 70s. There'd be like Dokken coming out with a new album, or Megadeth, or let's say Overkill coming out, and they'd say, this is Don Dokken from Dokken, and we're going to come out with a single, and you could call them up on the number anywhere in the States. And it was free, and it was cool to hear their actual voice, and you'd get a little tag, it was really neat. So to do that was pretty awesome. But I couldn't do it from where I'm at in Greece, so all the guys had to send me an MP3. But I had my family and friends back in Colorado do it, and they said that it was super awesome to have a personalized little tag from the band that was kind of speaking directly to you. Yeah,
I loved it. Yeah, I called in for all of them, and I think you'd wait like for a week, and then it'd be a different band member, a recording from a different band member, and it was awesome. It was so fun. It was such a
Some of us did it twice, Some of us did it only once, but it was fun.
Yeah, really fun idea. Now I know you guys just finished up. Well, earlier, like a couple weeks ago, you guys just
a European tour.
Yeah. Bakken, you played multiple fests, and then also we're touring in between.
The Alcatraz Festival was our last day. Headbangers Open Air was our first gig.
Nice.
And we were like, oh shit. We were unrehearsed with vocals because I'm physically here. I flew in a day early. But I mean, we usually dry rehearse in the hotel room, but the guys' flights were late, so we couldn't do that. So it was kind of like the first gig was a little shaky, and it was kind of sad because that was Headbangers Open Air,
I'm sure it sounded great.
Gig, but it turned out that the fans didn't really realize it, and only the musicians that were actually on stage realized, the little quirks that was happening. But after that, it was great, and then we were well rehearsed by Wacken. But then we finished off with Alcatraz, and the gigs in between were almost sold out. Most of the time they were more than half house, 70-80%. So we were happy about that. So were the venue owners, and it was really great. We wished by the end of it was only 11 days, that we were just getting our stride.
Yeah,
and we were at Alcatraz, and we're like, "Is this it? This is it? This is the last day?" And they're like, "Yeah." And we were like, "Oh no, we got to go back home." And we're like, "Yeah," So we were really bummed that it couldn't go on longer.
Yeah, I would imagine it probably just flies by, right? I mean, like you said, I mean, it just seems like it probably over like that. But you do have, I know you guys have, was it Blades of Steel coming up in Wisconsin at the end of September?
Yeah. Yeah, that's going to be awesome. Now that's a long flight for me,
Oh yeah, it
but
is.
once again, I'm flying in a full day early, so I'll be able to get well rested for the one gig that I'm playing, and then fly back out. Now I was going to fly to Colorado and spend time with my family there, that my boys, and but the flight cost was just too expensive for me to delay my flight, and then I'd have to fly back to Wisconsin to fly out, and it was just too expensive. It would just chew up all too much income for me to stay out there another week. So that's why I'm flying directly back.
Yeah, that makes sense. That's a lot of travel
So I'll
time.
have to see my kids some other time.
Yeah. Well, maybe they can come up to the festival.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that festival sounds amazing because it's who Exciter I think is playing, right?
Well, yeah, it's a great guy that's running it too. So he's a fantastic guy. He's a thrash guy. That's why there's more thrash bands on there and stuff. But he loves Jag Panzer, and that's why he put us on the bill. He loves Riot 5 as well. So
Nice.
yeah, there's going to be Exciter. There's going to be Flotsam and Jetsam,
Oh, cool.
actually headlining the first night with Riot 5 right behind them, and then we're on the Violence on Saturday, the next day. We're
Hmm.
right behind Violence, and then it's going to be Exciter on the third day headlining.
Nice. Yeah, that sounds like an amazing. I wish I could
So
make
yeah, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, it's going to be a wild weekend for metalheads. That's for
Yeah,
sure.
that'll be fun. Yeah, and for those watching, if you have not ever seen Jag Panzer live, get to a show. One of the best live bands I've ever seen. Just high energy, so fun to watch. And you guys are what I love about watching you guys live is not only are you engaged with the audience, but you're engaged with one another. Like you and I, it's not definitely not an act. Like you guys are having fun on stage together. Like you guys have a blast, and it's fun to watch that. It's high energy, it's entertaining. My wife and I were lucky enough to catch you guys, and it was just by chance actually that we happened to be in the Netherlands at the same time that you guys were playing at Rotterdam this past January. So we took the train down from Amsterdam to see you guys play, and that was wow, what an incredible show. And I think that was sold, that club was sold out. It was packed. And you guys played with Killer and Martyr and just
Yeah,
amazing
kind
show.
of missed those groups because we came in late, but yeah, it was a great night. Yeah.
Yeah, very cool. And yeah, I remember I was talking to Mark before the show, and I was trying to convince him that and I, kind of jokingly, I'm like, well, you should play one song from the Hallowed. And he's like, no, we're not doing that. I'm like, well, maybe just one, like just to give us a taste. He's like, we're not ready for that. I'm like, damn. But it was an amazing show, and it was such a cool because you guys did like kind of a big, kind of like a just uh like from everything, like all your albums. I mean, it was just this, kind of this, decades long, just hitting all your best stuff.
Yeah, we pulled out songs that we've never done before. Scarlet Letter,
Yeah. Oh, that's great.
Dare. We had Dare in the set. We had all the Ample tunes. License to Kill, Harder Than Steel, Generally Hostile. I think we didn't do Symphony then. But yeah, we did Leather Viper as well.
Oh,
So
that's right.
yeah, we did a lot of songs on that show. We did. I think we did King at a Price back then too. So
Yeah.
yeah, cool. But we didn't have Take to the Sky ready then, and we did Take to the Sky on this last run. So
Oh,
that was cool. And actually, we did like a 2 song, so we would go from Stronger Than You Know into Take to the Sky. So it was cool.
yeah, that's really cool. Have you guys ever, and why I asked this is because, especially with a concept album, with like the Hallowed, have you ever, and maybe you have done this and I just am not privy to it, but has Jag Panzer ever done an album in its entirety live? Have you guys ever done that or talked about doing
We've tried to.
that? Okay.
When back in the Century Media days, we tried to do a live album, and we had it all set up, and it was all ready to go. We had the venue, we had the recording studio, we had everything set up for Century Media. Just had to give the go, and right at the 11th hour, they pulled the plug. So yeah, we wanted to do something like that. We saw the footage from Bakken, and we didn't really like the audio too much the way it is from Bakken, but we do like the performance. And since we do everything by a click track that is directly off the album, And we also have intros of the songs. Almost every big intro that has a song, we do that live, since we're using the same clicks from the album that the drummer goes by. So we're thinking of using some of that footage once we get the okay from Bakken, and maybe provide some videos and maybe a short live video of that with some dubbed music in, because the audio was that they had presented from that was just awful. You couldn't hear the guitars, you couldn't barely hear the drums. All you could hear was just Ken's blaring guitar, and then my vocals had no color on them. Color, what I mean, like reverb or delay. It was just flat. So it's almost like it was a side monitor mix where they had Ken's guitar really loud. So it definitely was not a house board mix. So anyway, the video is cool on that. But yeah, if you watch that, you'll hear what I'm talking about. That you can barely hear Mark playing. You can barely hear the bass, and the drum is way in the background. The cymbals are just barely there. But yeah, my vocals are up front and dry, and Ken's guitar is just blasting. So
yeah, that's too bad. That's
good for Ken. Good for Ken, you know.
Yeah. Like, yeah, he's kind of the shining focal point, I guess, for that. But yeah, because I've seen some. I think it was just somebody's phone. I don't think it was Vakken. I think it was Alcatraz. And it sounded amazing, even though it was just somebody's phone, holding their phone up. But it sounded incredible. It was just somebody posted.
If it was somebody's phone, then it probably did sound good, because the house front I could hear. I always like to stay up front, and I've never worn in-ears. Now I have worn in-ears in some cover bands that I've been in, and so I've experienced with in-ears and wearing them. But on big stages, I don't really like to hear them wear them, because you tend to hear too much of what you don't want to hear. And I like to hear the house PA. I like to stay up front, and I like to hear that colorful vocal sound and the colorful sound that everybody hears. I don't want to hear a dry sound or, delay in my ear.
Yeah.
I don't want to hear a blasting vocal of me in my ear.
Yeah.
I want to hear the whole band, and so that's why I don't wear in-ears, and I stay out front. And from what I heard at Vakken that day, was really beautiful. It was really great, and I was really digging it. And then I see that video, and I'm like, "What?
Yeah,
that's not
too
what
bad.
I heard." Yeah. But the video looks great. It's filmed fantastic.
Yeah.
But yeah, just I don't know what they were doing with the audio that day, but yeah, they were doing the right thing.
Yeah, that's too bad. That's unfortunate, because I've seen the video too, the video footage, and yeah, it's really good footage. It's great footage of you guys. Yeah, it's unfortunate.
But yeah, we'd love to come out with the Lab album, because like you said, we are a live band, and we coordinate well on stage, and we, like I said before, we do the intros to the songs of Black and of Stronger Than You Know and of Pray and all this stuff. I mean, if it's somebody talking, King at a Price, we even invented an intro, pray thee hold long enough. And then it comes in, and, those intros are cool. They're dramatic. And so we've got a whole show that's planned out, and we interact well on stage and with the fans. And we're not afraid to go out there in the photo pit and bang around with the fans, while we're actually singing and stuff. So, and Mark did exactly that at Vakken. He got off stage and went down in the photo pit with his guitar and was playing right there and handshaking everybody while he was playing. It was fucking awesome.
Yeah, and that's another thing I think that I've always had a lot of respect for Jag Panzer, for you guys, is your interaction with your fans and your audience. Is, you guys really enjoy and really have, in a lot of ways, I mean, you treat your fans like not just a fan base, but like your friends. I mean, you actually are, are very friendly and talkative. You'll talk to anybody. I mean, I've seen you guys have a line of people, and I mean, it's obvious it's going to take some time, and you talk to every single person, every, and I also think it's cool, you guys also give stuff out to, kind of, you'll select somebody and you'll give them like a nice little package of stuff. Like, Mark's got his little tin with picks in it. And, there's the armbands,
wristbands and keychains and I make a special thing. It's just called the Scarlet Letter, and it's just a little letter with the Jag Panzer logo on the outside. But on the inside, there's a little special thing that has a felt A on the inside, and it says, thank you from the Tyrant. And I hand those out to people. But yeah, you're right. We do like connecting with fans because we like that when we grew up, and we never forgot that. We still remember that. That had a huge impact on all of us in Jag Panzer, especially Mark and me and John. When we go out and we'd actually meet somebody and they would be on the same level as us, because we're all just people.
Yeah.
Some of us just happen to be talented, like in sports or a race car driver or something. So you just have this God-given talent, but we're all still people. So, all these people that seem like they're better than everybody else, well, that's cool if that's the way they want to go. But I've never taken that approach. I've always found that if you're personable with these people and you look them in the eye and you say, hey, look, buddy, I love you. Thanks for coming out to the show. Thanks for, spending your hard money on me, saving up to come to the show so you can afford to buy $100 worth of merch. That's insane. Not only am I obliged to do the best show possible for you and to give the best performance possible, but when I shake your hand, I want to be a real person to you, Yeah. And those people come around, and they've been coming around for years and years and years, and they'll bring their friends, they'll bring their family, because they know that with Jag Panzer, we can get real people, and that's great. I love that.
Yeah. I think that's amazing. That's incredible. And in fact, it's, and you probably have no memory of this, but so this was, I don't know, maybe 2018, 2019. So my wife and I drove to Colorado Springs to see Jag Panzer play. You guys are playing at a bar, and I don't remember the name of the place, but I bought the, there was a merch table in the back, and there was just one. It was the 30th anniversary box set of Ample Destruction. So I bought that.
Oh yeah, the black one. Yeah.
Yeah, it's so cool. And I was, getting signatures from the band. I had my marker and getting signatures, and you had just signed mine, and you looked at it and went, well, you don't have John on here. And then you looked around like, where's John? So you did all the legwork for it. You went and found John for me and had him sign it, which I thought was really cool. So thank you again for doing that. That was awesome. Yeah. I mean, how many bands
I don't think you had your beard back then. You didn't have your beard.
No. Yeah. I had short hair, and very different time. Yeah. This is all post-pandemic look. I belong in the Hallowed. I should be one of the cast members of the Hallowed. So maybe to switch gears a little bit, you've always been a hardworking musician, busy guy. You've got multiple bands. So I know Satan's Host, which is a band you've been in almost as long as Jag Panzer. I mean, from like 86, I think, is when you joined Satan's Host, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, actually, I was in Satan's Host almost the equal time as Jag Panzer, because what would happen is the guys from Satan's Host would come down and they would see me at the Jag Panzer shows whenever we were playing these local gigs. And then after the gig, they'd take me up to Denver and they'd party with me, and they'd go, hey, check it out. We got these songs, can you sing on this song? Can you sing on that song? And so I'm like, yeah, and they play Jag Panzer songs, or they play whatever. And then they play their original material. And I would put my vocals to it, and they'd say, oh, well, here's the words, and here's how we kind of want it to go. So, I was doing both things at once, because I've always been that kind of guy. I've always been super busy, and I like sharing my abilities with other people that ask me. And so all the same thing with the Titan Force guys. They would come down to the Jag Panzer gigs, and sometimes even open. I've got some posters of Titan with 3 dots on the eye for the 3 brothers, and they'd be opening for Jag Panzer. And then after Jag Panzer, they'd say, hey, man, we're having a party at our house. Come in and party with us. So when we'd go down in the basement, and they'd get on their instruments, and they'd say, yeah, you want to sing Immigrant Song with us? And, we got this new song called Chase Your Dreams or something or whatever. And here's how it goes. Here's how John sings it. But, if you could sing it, that'd be great. So I was always doing all that stuff, at the same time.
Nice.
And, just as usual, Jag Panzer is my main baby. because those are my big buds. But I've never mind, if anybody asks me to do something, I'm always open to do it because to me, I think, I was given this talent by a power, that I can't explain. And I was born with this. And sometimes I have a higher ability than other people in certain aspects. And so I want to share that with as many people as I can. It is a gift that was given to me. So it is something that I want to share with everybody else. I want to gift that to everyone else. I want to give the gift that keeps on giving, Yeah. And yeah, so I've worked on tons of projects, and I was really hopeful to see another Titan Force album come out, but we just didn't have enough songs to have it come out. And the guys in the band are really happy with the local gigs that they have. They all have great families. They still love Colorado, and they're doing a great thing. They can go to these gigs, they can come back home to their families. They don't have to worry about being away from their families for weeks, maybe months at a time, doing touring, recording, all that stuff. So, I really love and respect everything that we've done, and all the things we've done in the past. But I don't see anything going forward from this date. Now, who knows? Maybe next year, they'll call me up and go, "Hey, we got enough songs now. Let's do something." But yeah, and same thing with Satan's Host. Put out all those albums at the same time that I was putting out Jag Panzer albums.
Yeah.
I was doing Fourth Judgment, and then at the same time I did By the Hands of the Devil.
Great
I never wanted it to be confusing with the fans. And something cool about that is like my voice automatically adapts to its surroundings. So whatever music you give to me, my voice kind of, or I have a way of shaping my voice kind of like a ventriloquist to adapt to the environment of the music that is supporting it.
Oh,
so that's why I kind of changed my voice a little bit in Satan's Host. And then also with Titan Force, because Titan Force is more progressive, and so they want that cleaner vocals. They want the soaring highs. They want that thinner tone. They want really something more melodic, and they want the big choral arrangements,
Yeah.
And then in Satan's Host, they want those big choral arrangements. They want them to be evil, dark and sinister. And then they want, a sinister voice behind it. But at the same time, they need those death metal vocals that they've done albums with Eli Elixir. They did like 4 albums with that death metal style there, the type stuff. And so I want to be able to do that. So it was fun for me to go that different direction and to experiment on things that I just normally don't do or cannot do with Jag Panzer, because it just doesn't fit, Yeah. That type of stuff doesn't fit. Now, I did do some really slow, kind of low, growly vocals on Last Rites, but that was just in the beginning with These Last Rites, but that's about it, in the bottom of there. But yeah, it's fun to be a part of all these other bands and to have them all based out of Colorado. So yeah, it was all happening at the same time. And so even though I would just be done with the Jag Panzer album, and now I'm working on a Satan's Host album.
Switch
or
gears.
I just finished with the Satan's Host album, and it's on to the Titan Force album. So, that's kind of how it was. And we were all friends of each other. Mark would come up to some Satan's Host shows, and Pat would come down, the guitarist of Satan's Host would come down to almost every Jag Panzer show. Same thing with the Titan Force brothers. They were always there at Jag Panzer. And in fact, after Winner Loser album, we were writing more material. And then Mark came to me and he says, "Hey, look, I got these songs before Fourth Judgment even had a title, He says, I got Ready to Strike, Black, and I have another song. And it was on a demo. And so I said, yeah, I'd be willing to sing on that. And so I presented the demo to Titan Force. And I said, hey, Mark asked me if I could sing on this and possibly do an album. And they said, nothing's been going on for us for a long time. When we kind of like stopped writing for about a year and a half. We respect Jag Panzer a lot, so we want you to pursue that. So they were actually the ones that told me, you know, continue with Jag Panzer, put out this Sport Judgment album, get on Century Media, do that, follow that, because you know, they were followers of Jag Panzer a long time before. So
Nice. That's cool. Yeah, I love that kind of camaraderie and that kind of support. I think that's really cool. And it's funny, you know, you mentioned, you know, going to each other's shows, because that actually was the very first time I met you. I went to a Satan's Host show with Mark, and he's like,
yeah.
hey, because I happen to be in Colorado, and he's like, hey, you should come with me tonight. I'm gonna go see Harry's band, Satan's Host, play. And it was amazing. It was a great show. It was a strange venue. It was a bar, but it was I think it was an old laundromat that had been turned into a bar. I can't remember the place.
Yeah, well, this was a brewing. It was a brewing place.
Oh, okay.
So a big brewing facility in the back, and had to play in front of the brewing machine. So that's why it looked like it was a laundromat.
Okay.
But yeah, it was an actual brew house, and they brewed in the back. But they'd set the band up in the back where the brewing stills were. So it was kind of crazy. But yeah, it was a small venue, and it's cool. You get like 100 people in there when it was packed.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was a fun gig.
I remember that was a killer show. And I remember it was funny because I think I had gone to the restroom because we got there, and you weren't, we couldn't find you when we first got there. So I think I went to the restroom, and then I think you came out and you met my wife, and then I came out, and like, you know, nobody introduced me to you, and you were standing next to me, and it was dark, and I didn't realize it was, you know, I'm standing next to Harry, and you're standing next to me, and you kept like leaning over and making these jokes, and I'm like, who is this guy? Like who is this guy talking to me? And then I turn, I'm like, holy shit, it's Harry. But yeah, that was a cool gig. That was a cool gig. I thought it was really funny too when you introduced when the band got up and you introduced yourselves. You introduced the band as Satan's Toast. I thought that was pretty funny. Like, we're Satan's Toast.
Sometimes they want me to do that to keep it light. Yeah, it's funny.
That was fun. That was really cool. And then of course you're also a member of the Three Tremors with Sean Peck and Ripper Owens, you know, of course, of Judas Priest fame. How did that come together? Like, I mean, that was incredible.
Sean Peck was singing with Warrior. He was doing a stand-in with Warrior in a few shows, and they were playing at Keep It True. And Jag Panzer had just headlined Keep It True with Bob Parduba, and we did the big Chain of Command set that night before. So we happened to be flying back to the States, and in the same airport was Sean Peck and the Warrior guys. So Sean approached me and he said, hey man, you got great pipes and stuff, and I'm doing this project to keep it under wraps, but I'm thinking of you and Ralph Schiefers, and we could, you know, carry on the torch for the Three Tremors, you know, that Rob Halford and supposedly Ronnie James Dio and Bruce Dickinson were going to do, but they never did. You know, they did a couple of shows. They were going to do an album. It never came to be. He said that was a great idea. Let's do this. So I said, yeah, here's all my information. When I get back to the States, let me know if, you know, when you want to start this. I'll be ready to do it. Couple months go by, and he's got Tim Ripper Owens doing it now. So I'm like, oh, okay, you know, I respect Tim, and I liked what Tim did. And when I first heard Jugulator, I was amazed. I was just like, yeah. And you know, so I was happy that Tim was on board. And so we started getting this going, and he had some songs that he and Cage had come up with, and we put our parts to it, and that's how it started. So yeah, it basically, we just happened to be at the airport at the same time, and he proposed the idea to me, and there you go.
Nice. I know so the follow-up album, the Guardians of the Void, came out just a couple of years ago. Do you guys have plans to do another album, or have you talked about that?
Not really. He really wanted to do, you know, he'd been taking a lot of time off from Death Dealer and Cage. And so he wanted to get back into doing that, you know, and so that takes time and effort. And also, Tim's really caught up with KK's Priest. He's doing a lot of that. He wants to tour the world with that. So, you know, if the guys aren't available, and also our Hallowed is doing really well, you know, it's finally charting on the German charts, 23. on the Sweden charts. We got 57 out of 100 or something like that. So since all of our albums are doing really well, and he wants to kind of do some more writing with Cage and Death Dealer, we figured we'd put that on hold and just let those two albums be what they are. And at least we went out there and did it. We gave it a good 3 or 4 years. We actually toured twice on that whole thing, and everybody loved the shows. It was a great experience for everybody. So if we wanted to get back and do it again, I'm sure everybody would be happy to do it. But it doesn't look like it in the near future anyway. Gotcha. In the next year, maybe even 2 years, it looks like that KK's Priest is starting to kick off pretty good, and the Hallowed's just getting started. So maybe there's some great things for Judas Priest, happening as well, and KK's Priest, and also Jag Panzer. So it was fun doing those albums. It was a great experience for all of us because we really didn't have to put a lot of our thought and energy into it. All the songs were prepared for us. The vocal guides were there. We just took the vocal guides and ran with it, put our own flavor to it. And when we did, it came out to be those cool songs. And I think, they're kind of two different albums.
Yeah.
The first one is really brutal and blastic and more like speed metal and power metal. And then the second one is more like power metal, I think, and less speed. Guardians of the Void is heavy. Kryptonian Steel is real heavy and thrashy. But I think the first one was more thrashy, and the second one was more, power metal.
Yeah, maybe a little more melodic. Yeah, really cool stuff though. Really, yeah. And unfortunately, I didn't get a chance to see you guys live. I had tickets to see you guys live, and unfortunately, the show was scheduled for April 19th. I still remember this, April 19th of 2020, and so everything shut down.
April 1st. That tour canceled. Yeah, and I was so sad about that. I was just getting on the phone telling him, dude, shouldn't we have flights by now? And he said, nah, you know what? I'm holding off on the flights because there might not be any flights.
Yeah.
And I was just like, oh, and it just got tanked. So, that was disheartening for him and, and for all of us too. But we ended up doing, a U.S. tour of 6 or 7 months later. And it was pretty much the same thing that we had done before, the same venues that we had hit on the first album. But it was still great. But that pandemic screwed everybody. And now it's sad to say that the touring industry and everybody's trying to make up for that. So the prices have almost doubled on for us little guys trying to get back out there. The bus rental fees, hotels have gone up. The entrance fees to get into most of these clubs for the patrons are no longer $15-$20. They got to be $30-$35. T-shirt costs have gone up because now the venues want a higher percentage of merch. Just everything has seemed like it's like, oh, we got to make up our loss of the last 2 years. It's like, oh my God, when's it going to stop?
Exactly. That's a really good point. Yeah, it's frustrating. Yeah, because unfortunately, it's the fans and the bands that are getting, pinched, which is really unfortunate. Especially you said, like the Iron Maidens, it's not going to impact them. But bands that aren't as big, that's a lot of money. And as you said, bus tour fees. I was talking to Kelly Schaefer from Atheist, and he was saying that their bus driver was making more money than they were.
Right. Yeah. I mean, we mapped it out. We were going to try to do a nightliner for these 11 days, and it would have cost us 3 times as much to do a nightliner than it did for us just to do a 9-person van and hotels. So that's what we did. Yeah,
that's unfortunate. That's nuts.
So we couldn't take our backline. That's one thing about nineliners is you can hire a backline to come with you because you can just stuff it all underneath the bus, or haul a trailer behind you. And there's no hotel fees or maybe a bus shower or something every third day because you all sleep on the nightliner. The crew and everybody. And 2 bands can even sleep on a nightliner. There's enough for like 8 or 10 people on a nightliner, but man, when they're three times the amount of what they used to be,
Yeah.
it's like pulling toenails, man.
Yeah.
Pulling
Yeah.
toenails.
Yeah, that's not it's not worth it. Yeah, because I mean you're gonna all your earnings are gonna go into that. So yeah.
Yeah, and you want to come away with 15 or 20 cents when it's all done. So
Right. Yeah, exactly. Um I have to ask you, because this is super exciting news for me. You are singing on the new Cloven Hoof album, a band I adore, new wave of British heavy metal band, one of my favorite bands of that era. And you're singing on the new album, which I think is coming out fairly soon, if I'm not mistaken, right?
I don't know. We're 5 songs into it,
Oh,
and
okay.
then I got another 3 songs as soon as I got back from Alcatraz.
Hmm.
But I caught a real bad sinus infection
Oh
that
no.
then turned into a stomach virus. And
Oh.
so once I got over my sinus infection last week, I've had a stomach virus for the last 10 days. And
Oh.
so I'm trying to battle that. But I'm going to start my vocals on the next 2 songs that they gave me, uh, like in 2 days from now. But we're 5 songs into it. We've got 8 or 9 songs right now that are written, but three more songs need vocals to them. And then we'll see at that point whether we have enough material or whether they want to do 1 or 2 more songs. But yeah, the songs sound great. They sound like early Cloven Hoof, but they have a darkness to them.
Nice.
Like the word Cloven Hoof. Some of these songs are just really evil lyrics, really dark and evil type music, but at the same time, just haunting uh, melodic rhythms that are. Oh, and the harmonies are really close to something like the Eagles or Boston would do.
Oh, yeah.
Really tight, sweet harmonies on some of these vocal harmonies. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Lee Payne is an amazing writer. I think. He doesn't get enough credit. That guy is incredible. Um,
Yeah. And some of the songs sound like early Deep Purple or Uriah Heep.
nice.
So it's great, man. It's great. It's like they got this cool 70s vibe with this modern, twist to it. And oh man, my voice just fits amazingly perfect to that music. So I think it's just going to be really, really cool when it comes out. And I think it's going to be really the fans are going to be really happy with what Lee and the boys have come out with.
Nice. Yeah, yeah. He was so. I'm friends with Lee on Facebook, and when I read that I don't remember where I read it. I read somewhere that you were going to be in Cloven Hoof. I'm like, wait, what? So I emailed him and just said, "Is this true?" And he said, "Yeah." And I thought this was cool. He said, "Yeah." He's like, "Harry is the best singer we've ever had, like hands down."
Well, it started out just subbing for one show because
Oh, wow.
they didn't have the singer that they could that they were trying for, and they had just fired or the other singer quit from the one before, and he's got his own group called Aska or something like that he's doing that right now anyway.
Oh, okay.
So anyway, they asked me if I could do the Keep It True Rising, and I was there already. With Millie Grimmett and Russ Grimmett
Oh,
doing
cool.
the Grimmett tribute,
Nice.
the Steve tribute. So I did like 5 songs with them. So at the same time, I played the day before with Cloven Hoof and did an hour show, hour maybe 10 minutes or something. And so yeah, I clicked so well with the band. They were like, "Dude, you got to be in the band." And I'm like,
Nice.
"Well, I got this Hallowed project coming out with Jag Panzer, and we haven't even signed a contract yet with a label, so I really can't say. So anyway, he did this press release, and I'm like, "Oh shit, you can't really do that." So I had to kind of back the press release out a bit, but yeah, I mean the band, we get along great, and my voice fits perfect with the band, and the guys are fantastic guys. They're British,
Yeah, yeah.
but I mean, I love that British humor. I love British humor shows. I've grown up with Monty Python, and so just love all that stuff. And they're easy guys to get along to. They've been well toured, so they've been around. It's nothing's new to them.
Yeah.
There might be a couple young guys on there, but they're very mature in how they handle themselves. Top notch musicianship. I mean, nobody makes a mistake on stage. well rehearsed. Chris Dando is a great arranger, writer, producer, and he plays the keys in the band, does great vocals. He even sang with the band on a Keep It True show there before. But I'm definitely a full-fledged member of the band.
Nice.
And don't know when it's going to be released. Don't even know if they have an album, a record company yet behind them. But so right now, I'm just kind of focusing all my efforts on, the Hallowed, and doing press releases for that. And when the time comes, then we'll make the announcement and slam this new Cloven. I don't even think we have a title. There's a tentative title for it, but that's been flushed around 2 or 3 times. So every time a new song comes out, we're like, oh, that's the title of the album. So we really don't know yet what the title's going to be, what the cover's going to be, but I'm pretty sure it's going to have some kind of dark, evil type of Cloven Hoof thing going on with it. So nice. Because a lot of the songs are going that way, and they're all about ritual, and satanic and stuff, and it's cool. It's cool, but the songs are not black metal in the least.
Yeah,
they're like I said, they call back to a lot of Deep Purple and Uriah Heep, and really really great vocals and really great guitar harmonies, and riffs, nice. Huge riffs, monster riffs. Yeah,
I'm really excited because I adore Cloven Hoof. I think I think Lee does that's such a great band. So many.
Yeah, they've had a real sad story, and it was a sad thing that happened to them. They just really got bad news, and for many years, all their stuff was locked up just because of a contractual agreement that they inadvertently, as young kids, just overlooked.
Yeah,
and you know what that's like, because it happened to Jag Panzer with Ample Destruction. We have no idea how many copies of Ample Destruction is out there.
Yeah.
So we've made very little, if no royalties off that album. And yet, I've signed many, many different types of copies of that album.
Yeah.
And, if it wasn't for that album, I probably wouldn't be here today. So same thing with Cloven Hoof. I mean, they were there the same time Jag Panzer was, and they just got handed a raw deal. So it's about time for them to come out and really shine, and to have a really strong effort behind them that I think is really going to, put them on the map.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I'm super excited for this new album. Especially with you at the helm, vocal helm. I can't wait to hear this. It's going to be incredible. But as you said, right now this is what I'm playing. This is what I'm listening to. Yeah, that is the thing. So, I don't want to keep you all night. I know it's late there, but I do have. I did want to ask you. I was curious about. Let's take a ride in the Wayback Machine. I was curious about your getting into music. Like, did you come from a musical family? Like, when did you start singing? How did this all happen for you?
I was, when I grew up, I was really into church, like Baptist church. My mom was a evangelist that toured around, and I have half brothers that are in Ohio. So we would go to Kentucky and Ohio on the summer months when I was out of school, see my half brothers, and also, be with churches and stuff up there. So I was always singing in church groups and everything. And then somebody asked me, hey, say, you got a real strong voice as a kid, so why don't you get up there and sing this with me? And so it was my brother playing guitar, and then it was, my half brother playing on the fiddle and stuff, and people that I knew playing. So I was comfortable, and I sang this one song, and everybody was like, the church was moved. So I'm like, wow, I got this cool thing happening to me. So when I got back, the guys in Jag Panzer, who was roller at the time, I got in school. I started honing my voice in junior high and high school. I was doing 3 or 4 vocal classes a day, chorus, solo vocal thing called madrigals, which is 16th and 14th century, singing in the Baroque period of music, and in the Renaissance age. So we were doing, classically trained stuff. And then Mark one day said, hey, man, we're forming this band and we hear you could sing. So at the time, the bass player was a singer. His name was Rodney Valdez, and he had a nice high pitchy voice, but he couldn't sing like the low stuff too much, too powerfully. So I started getting in there and singing that stuff, and so we sang together for a while, and then Rodney said, "Nah, this isn't my thing. I want to do my own thing." So that's what formed Jag Panzer. So yeah, I've my mom was a singer. She was an alto singer, and everybody in my family has always been musically inclined by one way or another.
Cool.
And I've always just been singing my whole life. I'd be on a bus stop with Mark waiting for the bus. I'd be singing show tunes, or I'd be singing a Barbra Streisand tune, or I'd be "Hello Yellow, Goodbye Yellow Brick Road," or singing a Dawkins tune that just came out. So I've just always been singing. Now, my first love was, believe it or not, Ace Frehley. I wanted to be a lead guitarist, man.
Oh, cool.
I liked the way his guitar would just sparkle and light up, and he had those flashy boots, and he was all about space, and I loved UFOs, and he played that really nice triple pickup Les Paul that was cool. I was into Peter Frampton with his triple pickup Black Beauty, So
yeah.
I wanted to be a lead guitarist. I wanted to be like a Peter Frampton. I wanted to be able to sing and play at the same time. So I got into guitar, and Mark come to my house, and I'd say, "Hey, check it out, man! I got this new guitar for my birthday," and it was a cheap old Hondo guitar, but I was like, "Check it out! I know how to play, Smoke on the Water," and so I and I know how to play, some Kiss songs. So he go, "Oh, that was cool, that was cool," and so I was like, "Well, you could do it too, man. Just put your fingers here and there," and he really loved it. So I actually got Mark to start playing guitar.
Oh, that's cool.
I started playing more lead and more lead and more lead, but I just couldn't coordinate the guitar with my vocals because I sing so crazy,
Yeah.
and I don't sing what the guitar plays. I sing an alternate melody, and so I just said, you know what? There's a lot more better guitarists out there, and I'll just stick with singing because there's not very many good singers out there. So that's what happened. Is I just but I still write riffs on a guitar. I still write songs on a guitar. I help out with Jag Panzer and sometimes Satan's Host writing riffs on guitars. Sometimes I'll sing something that is impossible for me to play, but I can sing. And so I'll make that little guitar sound like, and I'll sing it into the phone, and I'll create riffs, and sometimes Mark will turn those riffs into a song. But yeah, I was first what I wanted to be was a lead guitarist, and I'm glad I gave that up because that takes a lot of time to be a really lead guitarist. I've seen Mark, and I've seen Chris, and I've seen Joey Tafoya, and I've seen Steve Leseg, and I've seen all the hours and hours and hours that they're just they never put that instrument down, and I just couldn't do that. I couldn't be that guy that just never puts it down.
Yeah. Well, and yeah, it's beneficial for us because I mean your vocals are incredible. Like I said before, definitely one of my all-time favorite metal vocalists ever.
Thanks a lot. I appreciate that.
Yeah, Harry Conklin, the Tyrant. Yeah, just awesome. Well, Harry, this has been an honor and an absolute pleasure chatting with you.
Yeah, it's been great for me too, man. I love it.
Thank you so much. So for everybody watching, look in the description below. There are links to Jag Panzer's pages as well as Satan's Host and the other bands that Harry's in. If you don't own this album, go now, right now, go buy it. It kicks ass. Definitely one of the best, if not the best album of 2023. It's an amazing album. I'm going to listen to it right after I get off the call with Harry here. So again, thank you so much. This was absolutely
You're welcome.
awesome. Thank you.
It's been fun. It's been a blast.